Here's what you do if you're unhappy with your financial advisor. I got my man John had emailed me today. He goes, Josh, could you, now literally it's funny because I got two emails almost identical, like literally about 6 hours. Like, dang, I get these emails, not a lot, but I don't get inundated with emails as it is, but I get these emails probably, a dozen times a year or something like that, once or twice a month. Let's see. I know it's my decision, but would like you to stop me if it's a bad decision. I've concluded that I'm paying an advisor for pretty much nothing. I don't mind paying for something if I'm getting value, but I don't feel that way. I plan on trying to manage my own accounts by using index funds. It's cost me $800 a month for the advisor, and I don't see any value. And the other email I got was even worse. The guy's like, man, my advisor was great. He was energetic. He was focused. He was on me like white on rice. I didn't mind, and he had a 7-figure. He goes, I didn't mind paying this guy the fee at all. He's part of a firm. I'm not sure which firm, and I'm not sure what this guy's firm is either. But he said, but then the guy got married and moved, and he's no longer part of the firm. So they gave me, his backup essentially, some other guy. And the other guy's just slow. He doesn't email me quickly. He doesn't return my calls quickly. He's not that energetic. He goes, I don't get what I'm paying for. And he goes, maybe I'm just chump change because I only got $1 million. I think he had $1.5 million. I was like, dude, that's $15,000 a year. That's not chump change. But so if you, I'd still, because I hear this a lot. Maybe I'm just, yesterday's news. I was like, dude, you got $2 million, $1.5 million, sometimes $3 million. It's crazy. And I'm just like, why? It drives you up the wall. Now I get it if you're an advisor and you're like, I don't know, managing, a $50,000 portfolio. I get that, you know what I'm saying? But you should never take the client to begin with. That's your problem. If you take the client to begin with, you're assuming the liability. What's the liability? You're assuming that you are going to provide the same level of service as you would to someone with $5 million. You're the one who took him on as the advisor. No one forced you with a gun to your head to say you have to take this guy on, but you couldn't turn away a revenue source. So you say, yeah, I'm going to take you on. Now, if you're like what I used to be an advisor. In my smaller accounts, we put them in American Funds Class A. It was great. It depends on how much money they had, but let's say $50,000 or under. It's 5.5% front end commission with a 25 basis point trail. I'm not gonna make you rich. And I say, hey, if you need questions, call me back. No big deal. I'm here, and I'll call you back. Email me. Now, if they start emailing every day, say, look, man, that's gonna be a problem. That's why you have to be upfront with your clients. You say, hey, man, the engagement I have is basically, as you need, but if you need a lot from me, I'm not going to be the guy for you. I just want to be very clear up front. And for that, and it's not the fault of the client because the client's like, this $50,000 is important to me. I get it. And if you need some serious handholding with $50,000, you had to tell them you're not going to be the guy. You had to. Or else you'd overpromise, underdeliver, which is kind of what's happening here with these two guys. They've overpromised, underdelivered. Happens all the time in the business, all the time. And that's not good, man. That's not good, especially when you can just go to index funds. Like my man here, he's going to buy ouch, I just hurt myself. My ring just hit my knee. Ow. See that? That's a head. Believe it or not, that ring is freaking heavy. Ow. That hurt. I just slapped my knee. Anyway, so my man's going to go, I'm going to go to Fidelity. I'm going to buy Fidelity, whatever the version of VTI is, whatever the version of VXUS, whatever the version of BND is. And he's going to have basically a 65-35 stock to bond portfolio. I can't say it's perfect. I don't know. But I'm like, for me, if that was me, for the old buddy Josh, his Georgia hat, which I still got this thing on, I guess. I just noticed that. Remember the old days, the black guys would have a hat that they bought. They still have the tag on it, like to show that, like pretend like they stole it or something like that. That they're, dude, that was so stupid. There are so many dumb things that people do, man. I'm trying to think of what dumb things white guys did. Well, they'd have their hats built like, how I like it like this. I don't like the snapback. That's stupid. Where it's just a flat brim. That's just dumb. But the white guys would have the bill like it was so. I can't even do it. It was dumb. Stupid. But at least we didn't pretend like we stole the hat. Come on, black guys. That was dumb. I would never forget this, man. They'd have their freaking Orlando Magic hat on with a freaking thing sticking off. You're like, oh. Anyway. So my man's going to be in VTI VXUS, BND, essentially the Fidelity version. I said, he's got an IRA and a Roth. So there's no tax management in terms of, dividends, capital gains, and all this stuff, selling, tax loss harvesting, none of that stuff. And it's like one thing if you're getting good advice, like the second guy was like, yeah, man, my guy was on me. It was awesome. You know what I'm saying? I work with people. I got some friends who work at creative planning. I know them. I know them well. They're good financial advisors. They charge a hefty fee, but they service the hell out of their clients. I know that for a fact. As much as I'm not a fan of Fisher Investments, I know for a fact you will not be left unknown. You know what I'm saying? They are on you in terms of they have all these conference calls, all these meetings, all this stuff to keep you in the realm of what they're doing for their fee. And again, I'm not a big fan of Fisher. I don't hate them or anything. I don't think you need all that, but and I'm not sure they even offer real financial planning in terms of do they do the actual tax stuff? I don't know. But at the end of the day, they might. I don't know. But at the end of the day, at least they're saying, hey, we're going to make sure that you don't feel neglected. Because neglect is a lot of some financial advisory firms do now, especially with their smaller clients. And smaller is relative not to you, but to the financial advisor. And you can't be doing that stuff. So again, if I had a $50,000 account when I was a broker, I'd say we're going to put you in A-share American funds. It costs 5.5%. We'll just say it's $2,500 for simplicity. I get paid $2,500 commission. So your $50,000, only $47,500 would go into the account because you lose $2,500 as commission. I always knew your first month statement, I'd always knew that there's gonna be somebody, hey, how come my account's down? I'd have to tell you it's a commission. And I always told people up front, I said, this is your 5.5% commission. You're gonna get your first account statement. It'll probably be lower than what you put in because that's my commission. Just want you to know, because I knew that people would get the first statement and say, oh my goodness, I'm down in value. What the hell? The market's up. And I'd have to remind them it's from the commission. So what I'd always do there is I'd always call them first. Or I'd say, hey, you just got your statement. Let's go over this so you can see what's going on. And that was a good move. I've always been good at client service, to be honest with you. Always have been. Because I always know what it's like to be on my end. I hate being neglected when I'm paying somebody. You know what I'm saying? So I'd always be on that. Now, I also said too, as I just emailed some guy today who's, interested in my services, hey, look, man, don't be emailing me every day. You know what I'm saying? Don't be doing that. And I don't say it like that. But I said, hey, if you got an email, it's fine. Hey, send me. I email people all the time. I got a question on this, got a question on that. I got no qualm with that. But if you're doing that every day, that's a problem because there was absolutely no reason you should be emailing me every day. None. And I've never had that. I've had one or two guys who taken on clients and they had 2 or 3 follow-ups, in terms of, and I haven't had that very often. That's okay. If I had all my clients needing 2 or 3 follow-ups in terms of meetings, that would drive me insane. So I'm pretty good. But I've been doing this for a long time. So you always got a couple people need a little bit more hand-holding. The vast majority of my clients are software engineers, rigor engineers, military personnel. And most of these guys, they just need a little kick in the pants to make sure that they're not screwing something up. Some guys need a little bit more hand-holding than that, and that's fine. 100%. I got no qualm with that whatsoever. But I'm not in the business to be talking to people on a monthly basis, a quarterly basis. No. But if people have a question, a thought, a comment, they want to send me an email, absolutely. My man Ted just emailed me, and I would say we're friends, you know what I'm saying? And he's a client of mine. I say we probably every 2 years, he pays me the $500 annual fee. We've been working together 5 years. But we talk a lot about things emailing that aren't relative to financial plannings per se. Like he's a boomer. He said, I appreciate your video on the boomers. He gave me his history of, basically he couldn't find work when he graduated college in 1982. It's great. I emailed him back, said, how dare you, Ted? You don't know that your boomer card, you're entitled to $1 million just by graduating college. And so this is a relationship I have with a lot of my clients. It's just, a lot of it's not even financial related. But then they'll say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? Like my man John there. He said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? Am I doing something stupid? I said, no, I'm not doing anything stupid. Again, it could be problematic if your portfolio was in a brokerage account with lots of unrealized gains. We got to not do that. And it also could be problematic if you have a big portfolio with lots of individual holdings that you're going to roll out of your actively managed guy into your own, because then you got to start picking and choosing and selling these stocks one by one. That's a pain in the butt. You don't want that. So then you got to figure out, how do I liquidate these holdings that they have? I got 0.48 shares of Amazon, for instance. Like that's one of the issues. So there could be some problems if you have a managed account outside of an IRA in terms of tax consequences, or if you have 45 holdings all in 0.87 shares, 1.96 shares, and things like that, where those have to be liquidated in order to just consolidate to an index fund. That could be a problem. Is it worth it? In my opinion, mostly it is. I can't say that for all people. But if you are getting serviced and you are having a good relationship with your guy, and you know that if you die, that your wife will be in good hands, or your kids or something like that, and it's cost you $800 a month, I don't have any problem with that at all, especially if you're getting more than just active management, because I don't think active management is worth it, but I absolutely do think having a person you can rely on is absolutely worth it. Having someone who can talk about, hey man, the state laws have changed, let's think about this, taxes, let's look at your 1040, stuff like that. That's absolutely important. So I am absolutely not against paying a guy for fee for financial advice. I am against it if you're paying a fee and you're not getting anything. You're certainly not getting an email return. That freaking pisses me off, dude. And I don't like that at all. Especially when people say fiduciary versus commission-based salesman. There's hardly any commission-based salesman anymore. This whole thing's just so dumb. Again, the idea that a fiduciary is somehow better than a commission guy, when the fiduciary is charging 1%, a commission guy every year. And a commission-based guy is just charging 5.25%, if that, on the front end, and 25 basis points on the back. It's from a fee perspective, it's not debatable which is more advantageous to the client. It's just not. And it's one of my pet peeves about this whole stupid, I'm a fiduciary, I got a halo over my head. It's like, nah, dude, I hate that crap, dude. I hate that, because it's just, from a fee perspective, the fiduciary is going to charge more, which I don't have any problem with as long as it's earned. I also don't like commission guys who are basically churning accounts. I've seen that in my career. It doesn't happen very often, I don't think, anymore. On occasion, annuities, when one annuity comes up, there could be another one that's, let me get you out of that annuity, get you in this new one. And I'm like, why? Why are we doing this? The new benefits and stuff. I say, are there new benefits that are better than the old benefits? Really? Especially those older annuities that were issued 20 years ago. Those benefits were freaking, man. I see that. Don't get it doesn't happen with stocks anymore. Mutual funds, I'm not sure. I used to see this actually, and I just I don't like that. We're gonna divide up the mutual funds and put you in 4 different mutual fund companies so we can all get the 5.25% commission as opposed to 3.5%, and we just stay with American funds. That stuff like that freaking bothers me. So I'm not saying commission-based salesmen are all that in a bag of chips either. I'm just saying at the end of the day, I don't think it's all this commission bad, fiduciary good. It's just silly. Anyway, so if I'm you and I'm not happy with my current financial advisor, I'm saying, I'm going to go buy an index fund and be done with it. Just save the fee. All right, love your thoughts. Smash that like button. God bless.